The Hyrule Warriors games are well known for having a large roster of playable characters. Since long before the announcement of Age of Imprisonment, I've wondered about what the roster for a Tears of the Kingdom Warriors game could look like. Now that we have some more concrete information about the game, I feel like now is a good time to start roster speculation for it. I'd like to start by creating some categories to set some expectations for this roster. The categories I think make the most sense are these: hard confirmed, soft confirmed, likely, unlikely, returning from Age of Calamity, wish casting, and original characters. So let's start with the hard confirmed characters: Zelda, Rauru, and Minoru. The end. Okay, just to touch on Rauru's gameplay as a side note, I noticed he has a new spear design, but in the shock of seeing Rauru fighting with a weapon, I failed to recognize at first that he's wielding a plain Zonai spear. Link's abilities in Tears of the Kingdom are literally just Rauru's, minus the recall ability. So Rauru's plain spear will likely be able to have fused materials mid-battle. It could work something similar to Link's Guardian Flails in Age of Calamity that have a copy ability from the weapons of Link's enemies. Okay, now the soft confirmed characters. These are the characters that were featured in the trailer, but no gameplay of them was shown off. This list includes Queen Sonia, who I expect to play in a similar way to Princess Zelda, the Sage of Wind, the Sage of Water, the Sage of Fire, and the Sage of Lightning. Finally, for this category, Ganondorf. I think Ganondorf may have two playable forms depending on whether or not this game's story continues after the Imprisonment War. His hydrated version, which will probably have the Demon King as a power-up, and the mummified version, which may have a souped-up power state like a glowing Phantom Ganon. For the next category, the likely characters, I think these characters just make sense to be in the game, and that Nintendo wouldn't skip on adding them. Link, our favorite hero of Hyrule, will almost certainly be in the game. Some debate whether or not he will be a bonus character since this game focuses on the Imprisoning War, but I think he'll be playable during a prologue mission. Some short recap showing how Zelda traveled back in time before the real story starts. I think the next playable in this category is a dual character, Kuume and Kotake. I believe this playable just makes too much sense to miss out on. Hyrule Warriors games have multiple villains, but the Imprisoning War doesn't. If Ganondorf is the only playable villain, it would be an extraordinary missed opportunity. I think this character could have a cool power-up mechanic where they fuse together to make Twin Rova. For the remainder of this category, I think it should be pretty obvious. The future sages, 3 out of 4 of which were playable characters in Age of Calamity. King Sidon, President Yunobo of Yunobo Co., Gerudo Chief Riju, and Tulin, the best boy. The next category of characters would be the unlikely characters. These are characters that have a relatively significant role in Tears of the Kingdom, but are not really a sure thing to make it in as playable characters. Master Koga, complete with his forklift certification. A Zonai Construct character, to match the battle-tested Guardian of Age of Calamity. Teba, because he's Tulin's dad, and Tulin needs a chaperone. These next several are replacing the Divine Beast missions from Age of Calamity. The Light Dragon, Farosh, Nadra, Dinral, and the Demon Dragon. These would have a separate map for their missions. Potentially, you could even throw in the dungeon bosses into levels like this to make them playable too. Kolgira, Marbled Goma, Muktarok, and Queen Gibdo. The Sea's construct might not make sense to include here, since Minoru uses this exact construct during the Imprisoning War. The next category, Age of Calamity playables returning, will go pretty rapid fire because these were already, in Age of Calamity, and this is just wish casting basically. Young Impa, Terraco, Rivali, Daruk, Mifa, Urbosa, Monk Mascotia, King Rome Bosphoramos Hyrule, the battle-tested Guardian, Hestu, the Great Fairies, Purah and Robbie, Calamity Ganon, yes, Calamity Ganon in the same game as Ganondorf, and Blade Master Suga. Also, I would like for the Divine Beast to return for those types of missions again. We're coming in on the end of our categories here, but I wanted to talk about my wish casting. We could even call it insane wish casting category. These are playables that honestly I don't think make a lot of sense to expect, but I want them in the game, and I'm hoping somebody from Koei Tecmo or Nintendo is listening and will give these a go ahead. If Age of Imprisonment is the final send-off to this era of Zelda, the era of the Wilds, then this would be a perfect way to complete and give total closure on all of the beloved characters from this version of Hyrule. These characters are Aster, the Prophet of Doom. This character should have been playable in Age of Calamity, and this is the perfect opportunity for redemption. Next up, Harbinger Ganon. Wait, are you saying you want 4 versions of Ganon playable in the same game? No, of course not. I don't want 4 versions of Ganon playable in the same game. I also want Water Blight, Wind Blight, Fire Blight, and Thunder Blight Ganon. And for the heck of it, throw in Dark Beast Ganon for another evil character for these giant Divine Beast style missions, for the dragons and for the Divine Beast. So what is that, like 9 versions of Ganon in one game? Yeah, then I'll be satisfied. Next up in the Wishcast group are other characters of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom that I believe deserve some recognition. King Dorephan, Buliara, Wolf Link, Taro, Yona, Hudson, the Great Deku Tree is another giant for these Divine Beast style missions, and best of all, Cass. I mean, come on, Hestu was playable in Age of Calamity. Hestu! You're telling me we can't have Cass? Come on. This final category really can't be too in-depth because we obviously don't know a lot about what the developers have in mind, but I would really like at least 3 original characters in Age of Imprisonment. Even if they have no explanation at all, I would really like a Zonai character, just so we have a broader look of what the Zonai look like outside of just Rauru and Minoru. The next character might be a Depths-themed character. Lastly, I would like a character themed after the Satori, perhaps wearing the Mystic set. So those are my thoughts on the playable roster for Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. What are your thoughts of the playable cast? I'd love to hear them down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate it if you leave a like, subscribe for more, and share it with others. Till next time guys, later.